Hey guys, welcome to the Ranger's Respite. I'm Philip, and it's Whiskey Wednesday. That means it's time for a review. Um, have to address real quick. You may have noticed the Buy Pride flag in the background. That's because this is the first video of Pride Month. And that's my channel, so I get to put my flag in the background. Anyway, first things first, I'm going to just quick say goodbye to this. It's leaving the poll. Not because it won, but for lack of votes. It's replaced with Octototion, American Oak. So, this is the poll for next week. Stick around to the end to see how you can vote in the poll. The winner of this week's poll is this Burnside Oregon Oak Rye, which I managed to get my hands on. It's such a great noise. And it's interesting. It's produced by the Eastside Distilling Company in Portland, Oregon. I love their label. It's simple, it's bright, it's eye-catching. I gotta say, it's one of those cases of the back of the bottle says produced and bottled by Eastside Distilling, Portland, Oregon. And I've got to say, putting distilling in the name of your company, if you're not doing any, it kind of feels like bad form to me. They are sourcing everything, and on their website, they're upfront that they're sourcing their whiskey. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with sourcing as long as you're transparent about it. And while they don't exactly hide it, they don't go out of their way to be like, oh, yes, we're sourcing our whiskey. And I think that that's kind of not really totally cool. That's just my personal opinion. I much prefer the honesty of either putting sourced with a uh, state of distillation on it. And I'll get to where I think that this was distilled in a moment. But I should start with that it's finished in Oregon oak, which is um, different from white oak. It's um, Quercus garryana. Need to make sure that I actually read it. Now, what's on the East Coast where I am that's used for barrel making is Quercus alba white oak. And uh, Oregon oak is apparently similar, but different enough that it impacts the whiskey. And on the nose, it has that classic 95.5 rye mash bill that's become sort of the industry standard over the last 10, 15 years. Not that I can speak to before about 6 years ago, but that's besides the point. It's got a little bit of extra honey, like wildflower honey, and some interesting like sweet vanilla notes that you don't usually get on rye whiskey. I mean, you do some, but they're usually overpowered by the herbal nature of the rye. Of course, being finished in oak barrels, it will pull out more of the chemical compounds from the barrels that lend whiskey the vanilla and caramel and toffee-ish flavors. But it's interesting. It certainly carries through that like wildflower honey and vanilla with that rye herbalness and um, slightly minty palate. I have a hard time explaining what I get from the 95.5 rye mash bill because it is such a ubiquitous flavor profile in terms of I have 4 or 5 bottles on my bar right now behind me that I could pick up, put down, and blind I probably would only be able to pick out 1 or 2 as for what they are, but otherwise I would have a lot of trouble telling them apart because of how dominant that 95.5 mash bill is. Um, and I've been sort of dancing around it, but I'm going to come out and say it. I am 90% sure, certain that the rye whiskey that they're finishing was distilled in Indiana at the MGP distillery. And that isn't a bad thing. It is good whiskey. And they're doing something with it. They're finishing it in Oregon oak barrels, which makes it different from, say, this, which is just MGP whiskey bottled by the Redemption Barrel Selection Company. It's got that flavor profile that you can find in Redemption and Bullet and probably Templeton, although I don't buy Templeton whiskey. There are a lot out there, but it's augmented in this case with that wildflower honey, vanilla, and like slightly maybe like cardamom flavor, and the wildflower honey really pops on the nose. And I think that that has to come from their finishing process because it isn't something that I get from the Redemption, for example. The mint is a little bit more present in this than some other um, 95.5 ryes, but yeah, that's a common thread. It's part of what creates the mint character in general. Mint rye character in general. It's part of what makes rye whiskey. Is that herbal minty flavor. Ice is bottled at 46%, which is 92 proof. And it's a nice solid proof for it. It's got enough oils to coat the mouth, leave a finish that is present for a little while, but it fades relatively quickly, and it doesn't leave a lot of bitter aftertaste. So in that sense, this is a fairly good whiskey to pair with food because it won't have a whole lot of impact on the flavors that you'll be able to pull out of your food. It's interesting. If you see it and it's within your budget, I'd say yeah, go for it. It's good whiskey. It's got a solid base. The Oregon oak finishing adds an interesting twist that brings new flavors to the table, and it's definitely interesting. And I like that the company is willing to say up front that they do source on the website. I wish that they put that on the bottle, but that's maybe they aren't ready to do that, or there isn't a good way for them to label it that way. I am no expert. Um, like I said, I really like their label. I think it's cool. I enjoy the whiskey. Granted, I am a fan of rye whiskey in general. With that out of the way, gonna run through the rest of my spiel. My standard end of video nonsense. If you enjoy what I'm doing and you want a say in what I do, if you want to uh, vote in the poll, uh, it's really easy. You can join my Patreon. It's $1 a month. You get access to Patreon exclusive content. You get access to these videos early. You get to vote on what I do, and you can request cocktails and other stuff for Friday Drinking Geeks videos. Now, in the poll for next week, we have Auchentoshan American Oak, Wild Turkey Forgiven, KO Distilling Bare Knuckle Bourbon, and Larceny, a wheated bourbon. Um, if you want to support my channel, but you don't want to spend $12 a year, $1 a month on Patreon, or you don't like Patreon, you can make a one-time contribution through my coffee, which is a $3 donation. I'm also selling the That's the Spirit pot still stickers designed by my friend Alyssa at Abercat Studios. That's on Etsy. They're $3 a piece. And I've sort of been putting effort into my Redbubble page again, including a different That's the Spirit pot still sticker design that I did myself. That started out as just sort of an exercise to see if I could, and I like the results. So I'm offering it as a sticker or on shirts, etc., and so forth. Um, if you are looking for a place to hang out, talk about whiskey, cocktails, other wonderful things, I am a member of the Whiskey Lodge Discord server. In fact, I'm a moderator there. Um, and we hang out, we talk about whiskey and other related things and unrelated things, um, uh, like NFTs, apparently. Um, yeah, there's a link there. There's a link to there in the description down below. I think that's everything. So, until next time, stay happy, stay geeks, sláinte.